Hello everyone, and welcome back to Turkish series Stars. I'm thrilled you're here, because today we're diving into a love story that refuses to fade, a connection that fans describe as unbreakable, magnetic, and destined. The title already set your pulse racing, didn't it? Tonight, we talk about Akınözü and Ebru Şahin, inseparable forever. Settle in, pour yourself a warm drink, because we're about to unravel how a spark on set transformed into a bond that still keeps the entire fandom buzzing with emotion. It all began beneath the golden light that drenches Mardin and Midyat, where ancient stones whisper old tales and the wind carries the scent of time. On the set of Turkish, where passion and fate collide, Akınözü stepped into the stormy heart of Miran, and Ebru Şahin breathed life into the resilient soul of Reyhan. The first time their eyes met in character, something clicked so powerfully that viewers from Istanbul to Buenos Aires, from Berlin to Dubai, felt it across the screen. You could see it in the way Miran's guarded facade faltered under Reyhan's steady, luminous gaze, and in the way Reyhan's hope refused to be crushed by the weight of Miran's past. Their scenes were not just scenes, they were heartbeats, sometimes racing, sometimes trembling, always alive. From the earliest episodes, fans sensed that this wasn't ordinary on-screen chemistry. Their dialogue flowed like a dance, precise and instinctive, every gesture landing exactly where it needed to. When Miran looked at Reyhan as if the entire world blurred around her, when Reyhan stood firm and strong, demanding honesty and depth, the line between fiction and something deeper started to blur. The camera loved them, yes, but more than that, the audience believed them. It was as if the universe had paired two performers who could translate silence into poetry and longing into electricity. As the series gained momentum and conquered ratings week after week, attention shifted from the scenes to what was happening between takes. A smile shared after a difficult shoot. Quiet laughter caught in a behind-the-scenes clip as the crew rearranged lights. Interviews where Akın praised Ebru's focus and generosity, and Ebru highlighted Akın's intensity and discipline. The praise never sounded rehearsed, it felt like two professionals recognizing in each other a rare dedication, a fierce love for their craft, and a trust that made every high-stakes moment feel safe. Then came the avalanche. Social media turned into a humming hive of clues and theories. A candid snapshot from set wrapped in winter night air, their breath visible as they practiced a scene. A quick exchange in an interview where a simple compliment landed like a declaration. Comments, likes, and those little moments where their eyes seemed to linger half a second longer than necessary, fans turned detectives, threading these hints into a tapestry that looked suspiciously like destiny. Was it just friendship? Was it something more? Whatever it was, it radiated warmth. And in a world that can feel cold, people held on to that warmth. One day, the whispers crescendoed into a moment that felt like confirmation without a single word uttered. It was a soft, mesmerizing step into the spotlight, a heartfelt expression of gratitude for the journey they'd shared, the characters they'd built together, and the audience that made it all possible. They stood shoulder to shoulder at an event, poised and luminous, thanking fans for believing in Miran and Reyhan and, by extension, in them. Was it a formal declaration of romance? No. Was it a revelation of a bond that went beyond scripts and call sheets? Absolutely. The cheers erupted across timelines, and the fandom exhaled in relief, joy, and vindication. From there, their rhythm as a duo solidified into something beautiful. They found a way to share just enough, gorgeous glimpses of sunsets after a marathon shoot, proud messages celebrating an award or a premiere, a subtle nod during an interview that said more than any long speech could, while fiercely protecting the sacred intimacy that only they could define. In the era of oversharing, they became masters of balance. They fed the hope of fans without feeding the rumor mill, and they kept their personal world tender, resilient, and theirs. Their mutual support became a study in grace. When Akın launched into a new role that demanded a different face of his intensity, Ebru's words of encouragement rang with genuine pride. When Ebru took on a project steeped in history and physicality, Akın's admiration came through with the quiet certainty of someone who knew exactly how hard she worked to elevate every scene. They were each other's anchors in the storm and wind in the sails, a pairing that refused to see success as a competition and instead treated it as a shared sunrise. Their belief in one another wasn't a performance, it was the foundation. If you ask the crew who spent long months under the sweltering summer sun and the biting winter chill of Midyat's stony courtyards, they'd tell you about the resilience it takes to film in conditions that test even the strongest teams. They'd tell you that grit must be matched with compassion, and that the presence of a partner who understands the pressure can mean the difference between crumbling and soaring. That's what set Akın and Ebru apart. They faced every challenge as if they'd made a silent vow to shoulder the weight together, through delays, rewrites, the emotional cost of heart-wrenching scenes, and the exhaustion that clings to your bones after a 14-hour day. The authenticity of their connection bled into their characters, making Miran and Rayyan feel like more than a story. Fans saw not just romance but a blueprint for love that is layered and patient. They saw strength that bends but does not break, forgiveness that isn't naive but chosen, growth that requires honesty and courage. And as the seasons unfolded, each reunion and each fracture felt personal. Viewers took sides, cried tears, shouted at screens, and then fell silent when a soft touch or a single, charged glance stitched everything back together again. That is the kind of screen magic you cannot fabricate, it must be lived, at least a little, in the spaces between the takes. But perhaps the most extraordinary thing is how, even as the lights dimmed and the set wrapped, the story didn't end. It transformed. On red carpets, at festivals, and in quiet industry gatherings, the two stood as a symbol of what can happen when talent meets integrity and chemistry meets respect. Their public appearances were never ostentatious, never performative. Instead, they were measured, elegant reminders that a profound connection speaks loudly through the smallest gestures. A glance before a speech, a hand settling gently at the small of a back as cameras flashed, a shared laugh that sliced through the formalities like sunlight. The digital age, of course, insists on explanations and labels, but they resisted the urge to be boxed in by any single narrative. They let their work speak, let the memories of Miran and Rayyan continue to echo, and let their own choices be guided by a compass that points toward sincerity. Fans responded in kind, crafting fan art, writing letters, and showing up for premieres not only to celebrate what had been but to cheer for what might come next. In a sphere where fandoms can fracture over a rumor, there's rallied around the simple, radiant truth that kindness and empathy are the best flex a star can have. Let's not forget the quiet bravery it takes to be vulnerable in front of millions. Every actor knows the risk of giving too much, of letting the public stake a claim in a private heart. That's why their balance feels admirable. They revealed enough to be human, to be relatable, to be touchable, but never so much that they lost themselves. That is what kept their bond buoyant, a shared understanding that love, whether personal or professional, thrives in trust. Of course, every relationship, of any kind, faces storms. The long nights. The misunderstandings that come with intense storytelling. The strain of expectation when you've become symbols for a generation of romantics. But when life threw them curveballs, they didn't turn against the tide, they learned to swim with it, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, always together. Through illness scares on set, through pauses in production, through the noise of the rumor cycle, they remained a steady horizon for each other. The resilience wasn't noisy. It was steady, deliberate, and unmistakably theirs. And the influence they've had goes well beyond ratings or awards. Young actors mention them as inspirations. Directors talk about their professionalism with a soft grin, the kind reserved for people who made everyone's day a little easier. Fans from opposite ends of the planet find common ground in their story, trading subtitled clips and translations, arguing playfully about favorite episodes, and trading analyses of a single look that could have a dozen meanings. In an internet culture so often defined by divisiveness, the world found itself united in appreciation for two artists who managed to be incandescent without burning anyone else down. As time passes, it becomes clear why the words inseparable forever resonate so powerfully. It's not about erasing their individuality or pretending their paths will never diverge. It's about recognizing that what they built, on set and off, is woven into the fabric of modern Turkish television history. The stone courtyards, the sweeping pashes of wind, the echo of footsteps on ancient stairs, and two performers who let themselves care, deeply, about the work and about the person standing opposite. That is inseparability, the kind that endures even when schedules change, roles evolve, and new stories beckon. If we had to distill this journey, it would read like a heartbeat map, an initial spark that startled the senses, a steady climb of trust and collaboration, a crescendo of shared triumphs, and a lingering, resonant echo that refuses to fade. We saw the chemistry, we watched the bond, we learned from the way they carried themselves. With dignity, with warmth, and with a sophisticated understanding that love is not weakened by boundaries but protected by them. Where others sought noise, they offered music. Where others craved spectacle, they delivered soul. So here we are, at the end of our episode, yet standing at the beginning of the next chapter of admiration. Akınözü and Ebru Şahin remind us that the greatest love stories are born in truth. In the courage to look someone in the eyes and really see them, in the discipline it takes to honor your craft, and in the self-respect it requires to let mystery do its gentle work. Maybe that's why we can't stop talking about them. Maybe that's why each new photo, each interview, each unexpected moment sends us spiraling once more into collective adoration. Because deep down, we all want to believe that an unshakable bond exists. That in a world of constant change, there are still two souls who can meet in the middle and hold fast. Thank you for joining us on Turkish series Stars to relive the origin, the glow, and the guardianship of this unforgettable connection. Tell us, which Hurkai moment branded itself on your heart? The rain-soaked confession? The quiet mornings in the courtyard when hope outshone grief? Or perhaps that final look that said everything without a syllable spoken? Drop your thoughts below, and let's keep the conversation breathing. If this story warmed your evening, tap like, share it with the friend who never stopped shipping Miran and Rayyan, and subscribe so you never miss the next deep dive into the stars we love. Until then, keep your heart open, your eyes bright, and your faith in the kind of bond that refuses to let go.